Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Tuesday, August 9th edition of the MSP Initiative Live. We did have a guest speaker on for today, but unfortunately they weren't feeling so good. And so we will just have to make do without them. But no worries, plenty to talk about. Got a full list of things that are happening in the IT realm for you today. But before we get too much further, let's do some quick housekeeping, and we'll go into the good stuff afterwards. So again, MSP Initiative Live. Today is August 9th, 2022. And before you know it, we'll officially be out of summertime land, and we will be in the thick of things. September, October, November. It's kind of that busiest, in my opinion, the busiest time of the year. But hey, that's just one man's opinion. Let's go over some quick housekeeping, and then we'll go into news of the day. So mspinitiative.com. This session and every other session are available in podcast and video format. You can find that at mspinitiative.com under sessions. You will see our community block parties for Washington, D.C., Fort Lauderdale, Orlando are starting to percolate up here. You can see we have those listed now on their community block party on mspinitiative.com. And lastly, Channel Strong. We have 3 Channel Strong tours left between now and the end of the year. And we are coming to Denver and, kind of east into the Midwest in September. We're going into the Southwest, including Phoenix, Vegas, California in October. And then lastly, at the very end of November and then a couple days into December, we'll be in sunny Florida. And then we actually finish it in Atlanta. So if you're an MSP, we'd love to see you there. Again, sessions, this session, every other session recorded, block parties, DC, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando for our MSP friends, and then the Channel Strong Tour. Those are the housekeeping notes of the day. So let's quickly go into some news of the day, and then we will hopefully let you guys out early if you are listening. And we will bring back hopefully our guest that was supposed to be on today for Thursday. So Kaseya, as this kind of leaked out onto Reddit, and now a formal article here posted on Channel Pro, Kaseya responding to partner complaints changes auto renewal terms. Okay, so basically you'll be able to contact your account manager at Kaseya, whoever that is. Some people don't know who their account manager is. Some people do, but that's just across any vendor, honestly. But basically, you can request that the auto renewal of whatever service you have with Kaseya, or now Datto Kaseya and the rest of the companies underneath of them, you can tell them, hey, I don't want to auto renew, right? So still, multiple options for terms. They're saying 1, 2, 3 year. The greater the length, the better the price. But basically, in case you don't want the dreaded auto renewal clause to hit you, you basically can contact your account manager and then obviously save that email when you do, saying that you do not want to be auto renewed. So this is apparently this is new. They just put this out there. And now it's out there, and they list IT Glue, ID Agent, Graphics, Rapid Fire Tools, and there's more business units than that. So that is an interesting change coming from the normal T's and C's in Kaseya land. Moving right along. So IT by Design had their Build It conference not too long ago in Jersey City, and they partnered with Enable and Vigilant to expand their SOC security services. So they've, IT by Design is known for staff augmentation and, kind of NOC services. Now they're, expanding into SOC as all things security go. So now they have Enable and Vigilant as 2 solutions that they will, both support and then include into their SOC solution. So just a little partnership there. Pax8 announced that they will now be offering QuickBooks Online through their marketplace. So not QuickBooks Desktop and not QuickBooks Enterprise, but QuickBooks Online. If anybody's tried to purchase the desktop version of QuickBooks, you see it's harder and harder to buy these days. So I guess why not push that through where you're buying a lot of your other subscription-based services. So there's that one. More tech news, right? More layoffs. Not a horrible amount, although those 50 people probably would say differently. But Ring Central laid off 50 people from HQ out of a team of about 700. Basically, as all things go. Bottom line, market's tough. And I'm sure they're doing this just like everybody else is having to do this because they have to show profitability somewhere, and they're a publicly traded company and a big one at that. So Avalara, anyone who has done any tax rating, this is one of the big names in the game, got acquired by Vista Equity Partners. Vista Equity, if you remember, was one of the original acquirers of Autotask and then a investor in Datto. And then obviously when those two companies merged, they held on to be one of the largest investors in Datto pre-public and obviously acquisition. But that deal was worth $8.4 billion. So just to remind you, Datto's deal 6.2, this is 8.4. So apparently big deals are still happening, even though the economy may not be in the best place. So there you go. So these guys, these venture capital private equity guys are still out there. Another one by Vista Equity. We just happen to know this name because they are in the MSP sandbox. We've talked about this topic many times. NCE and the changes that came into the Microsoft Partner Program afterwards. But basically, everybody's now shifted. Well, they indefinitely paused the NCE after everybody jumped through the hoops. And then they turned around and changed the program to a 70% passing score out of 100. Just to remind you, I'm sure you know. But basically, the community is starting to realize that this change is occurring, and now they have to go back and really understand what's going on. So effectively, if you haven't, your competency that you may hold already may not have any viability in a new program. Silver and gold and like those style partnerships or memberships are going away. Looks like Action Pack is still sticking around. But effectively, in order for you to, continue with Microsoft and get any credit for anything and be able to actually progress into the program, you're going to have to go through this, this new scoring program. Now, it does say partners who score below 70 can still buy Action Packs. So I just mentioned that earlier. Action Pack is like aimed at smaller partners, they said here. And it looks like they may have lowered the no, they're saying that Action Pack's lower than what gold or silver was. But basically, you still have to go through the new program. And they're talking about different scenarios here where people have a pretty big investment in the Microsoft Partner Program, but don't meet the requirements of how the new program's structured. So fun, right? So I think you're going to need to go through, learn things. I know I've at least been reached out by Microsoft, somebody at Microsoft, or at least an outside vendor saying, hey, let's talk about the new partner program. What do you need to, see what you need to do. But effectively, you're going to lose the ability to have partner credits. Your percentage could also be affected, in the discounting that you get as a Microsoft partner. And then also the ability for you to get internal use, past what's included in Action Pack. And then lastly, any of the, kind of accelerator programs go away if you don't meet the minimum. So definitely, it's starting to come up to the top now that you have pretty much the rest of this year and next year to figure it out. If you haven't had a chance to go look at it, suggest you do, because it is a radical change from what we are aware of. So Twilio, and you may not be using Twilio directly, but chances are there is some sort of downstream vendor or product or solution, or maybe even your customer's vendor product or solution could be using Twilio. So apparently there was a data breach, but apparently not across the board. And if you are not contacted by Twilio, then your account was not impacted. Looks like it was a SMS phishing attack. They got control of an internal employee's account, and then they started sending out these phishing attack. Well, I'm sure everybody's seen these, right? This is the new renew your auto warranty, but in SMS format. So basically using internal employees single sign-on session to send out this kind of spam campaign. So that is the story. And obviously they said, hey, we have 150,000 customers like Facebook and Airbnb, Lyft, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's potential that you may have been affected, just don't know yet, or maybe you were lucky. But if you go here to Twilio's actual blog, they do post an incident report, and they kind of go through and explain what was done in the situation. So definitely go check that out, especially if you're using any sort of SMS based solutions, because that looks, they have a lot of products that Twilio offers and a lot of integration. So go check that out. This one was interesting, and I was actually on the couch yesterday. The other half went to go Google something, and Google was down. I don't know if you knew that yesterday evening, Eastern time. But apparently there was an electrical explosion at a Google data center in Iowa. Literally just took the whole data center off. Of course, Google has a lot of data centers, but it did take a bunch of services down, even not just Google Search, Maps, YouTube. But yeah, it was down. And that took a while for them to come online. It obviously got fixed overnight. But yeah, this was I was literally saying, hey, let me go Google that, and it didn't work. And then of course there's a backup article saying Google briefly nuked the internet last night, again, because they literally had a data center that that blew up. So it sounds about right before 9-ish. Yep. And then it looks like they came back online around 1 totally. So it's a nice chunk, even the big guys are affected, right? I mean, let's be fair, right? I love when people are like, oh, my account's down. It's like Azure has its problems, Google has its problems, AWS has its problems. I mean, everybody has problems. It's just the nature of the beast. But this time it just happened to be Google. So if you wonder why you couldn't get on the search last night, now you know why. The data center had an electrical fire and down it went. I thought this was a cool story that I was looking as I was going through the feeds. An RV repairman is getting paid, on a site that you can do that on, to literally answer questions. So he started doing this on his lunch break, and now he makes $115,000 a year. Pushes him into a slightly larger tax bracket. So said his best month was July 21, that netted him just under $25,000. So he basically signed up to be an expert on Just Answer. I'll go over to that tab in a second. And yeah, apparently he made this a side hustle, and looks like he's pretty happy there in his photo with his coffee. But yep, if you just check out justanswer.com, maybe this is a side business for IT providers and IT technicians, right? You may want to double check to make sure you're not breaking any rules with your employer, but this is basically question and answer and get paid. So I can only imagine this guy had to do a lot of these in order to actually make that kind of money. But hey, American dream, right? So there you go, $115,000 a year in answering questions. So check out justanswer.com. If you're an AT&T subscriber, I'm sure there are many of them out there, you may be eligible for this class action lawsuit. So AT&T failed to inform postpaid wireless subscribers, which is like 98% of them. They're being charged a $1.99 administrative fee for each line. Unlike prepaid subscribers, postpaid subscribers are billed after the fact. AT&T hasn't responded for requests for comment, so who cares? Basically, if you have been an AT&T subscriber, it looks like since May of 2013, anywhere in between, you may be eligible to join this class action lawsuit. Now, you may only get a few dollars when it's all said and done, but it's a few dollars. It says payments are estimated to be $15 to $30. I would say that could fill up your gas tank, but that's far from true these days. But hey, you might want to check this out if you're an AT&T subscriber, and go ahead and put your name into the mix. Maybe you might get $15 to $30. This one was interesting. I thought, like, obviously not the only country to start, pushing Chinese telecommunications brand out of the market, but it looks like India, which is very large, second largest, I think, outside of China, basically started outlawing or going to remove Chinese-based smartphones. I wonder why. You can suspect, or you can read this article, but yep, knocking them out of the Indian market. There you go. Good luck there, India. I mentioned this maybe 2 weeks ago, but if you're in Texas, it's behind a paywall, but if you're in Texas, the taxation rate for the state telco taxes on wireless and landline and VoIP bills is about to go from 4% to 24%. So they're saying this is unprecedented. You're right. It's not very often you see 4 to 24, but that's coming soon. So if you're in Texas, you may want to either tell your customers that their phone bills are going up, or maybe look at your own phone bill, because it is coming. This one was a little bit worrisome. I kind of parlayed it on 2 separate articles. So TikTok says that it can track your iPhone even if it's off or in airplane mode. That's not right. So TikToker gets her stolen iPhone back with help from cops and an iPhone hack. So what is the hack? Let's see. Once you sign into a secondary device, you can control settings of the stolen Apple iPhone. Make this work. Okay, I just don't understand. So it's a TikToker. I see what it is. I thought it was TikTok itself. It's actually a TikTok user. I misread that. My fault. But basically, she used TikTok and her phone's tracking to hunt down the person who stole the iPhone. And I guess the debate here was that this person went online and basically outed the people while the police were trying to track this person down in Chicago. Interesting. Well, good news is, here you go. Here's the setting. Here's the setting that you got to pay attention to. Face ID, passcode, control center, USB off, privacy, location services. So apparently, even if your airplane mode is on, that this, assumingly you're not in an airplane and you actually have signal around you, it'll still track your phone. I think we've known about this for a while, but as you can see now, it's in action. It's a little bit worrisome that somebody could track your devices even in airplane mode, but there it is. I kind of misread that. I thought, we know TikTok is in the middle of getting rebanned potentially again by the government here in the US, so pay attention to that. Couple ones left here. Google has their own proprietary text messaging platform other than what we know as text messaging. They call this RCS. And now they're trying to get Apple, who has iMessage, to convert to this rather than standard SMS and MMS messages. Well, good luck, Google, because I think Apple will probably keep doing their own, if I had to guess, with iMessage. But apparently they're trying to get away from standard SMS and MMS. Obviously, Android devices are using RCS. I use iMessage all the time. Yeah, I'm an iPhone guy, even though I love Windows stuff. Just don't think that's going to work. But hey, Google can give it a college try. And then lastly, I'll leave you with this one. Verizon isn't the fastest internet provider anymore. Oh, okay. So these guys are Cox Communications, which are based out of like the, west, on the west side of the country. Interesting. Not that I follow this too often, but in the home of Comcast, we know Comcast internet, depending where you are, could be wildly different. But and obviously Verizon Fios has been pretty good. Google Fiber, if you can get it, sounds great. And there's a lot of other fiber products like AT&T, and then part of Verizon was sold into Frontier. But Cox, they're out there in the southwest. Apparently, Ookla says they are now the fastest internet provider in America. Give everybody a chance to catch up before we get, we sign off. How's everybody doing today? Keith Nelson, how's your cigar, buddy?
Excellent. Excellent. I always enjoy a good cigar.
Well, yes, that's why I brought it. It was your birthday. I figured we'd hook you up with what you like.
I bought myself a birthday present.
All right. Very nice. I like to hear that. How did you enjoy Chicago?
Great. I grew up in Niles, so it was good. It was good, good to go back.
I didn't know. I thought you were always from California. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I grew up in Niles, moved out to Chicago after the Lincoln Park riots, way before your age, and the big Chicago snowstorm. My parents decided to move to California.
Yeah. Got it. Well, anytime I think about snowstorms, I think about snowballs, and people just remind me about snowballs and Santa Claus, even though,
Well, worst fans in all sports.
I wasn't alive then either, Keith. Come on. You may remember it, but I surely have heard of it. I wasn't around during that time, but
I actually watched that game. I don't know who you played that game while I was watching it. Were we playing the?
I mean, it was there was also the Chicago Bowl, the Fog Bowl, right? That was Chicago.
Yep.
So, I mean, weather does funny things. But now, did you hear that the Chicago Bears are trying to move their stadium to the suburbs, build a new, on a new 200-acre piece of property, and the city of Chicago is trying to get them to stay, and they're like, hey, we'll just put a dome on top of the stadium.
I think it's it's funny. The first team that ever moved was the Dallas Texans, the Kansas City Royals, the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you look at the Hunt brothers have voted against every other move since then, which I think is interesting. They're the ones that started the pack up in the middle of the night and move out on your city.
It's not probably a good move. This, there was rumor that a couple of owners ago in Philadelphia, Leonard Toews was going to try and move the Eagles to Arizona, but that didn't happen, thankfully.
Excuse me.
See, even Keith can't believe it.
You always wonder, are those real or negotiation ploys?
I don't know, but he did sell the team a few short years later, so thank goodness for that. Darren, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm a San Diego fan, by the way. I always think San Diego deserves a football team.
They had a football team. They didn't want to put a new stadium up. They ended up sharing space with the Chargers or the Rams with their $5 billion building, because they bought a Super Bowl and everything.
Yeah, they bought the win.
Exactly.
They tore down Qualcomm. I don't know if you know that.
I went to Qualcomm. It wasn't a bad stadium. It was aged, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't horrible. The problem is everybody's at the beach in San Diego. Nobody watches football.
No, not everybody's at the beach. Although,
where they at?
I might be at the beach right now.
Qualcomm
working at the beach.
The guy that hates sports is chiming in that all the sports fans are not at the beach.
I'm saying there's a lot more going on than people being at the beach. That's all I'm saying. Lots going on here. The development here is unbelievable right now.
I'm gonna couple in the water and in the beach. That's the same.
No. Lots of work goes on here as well. So,
okay.
Anyway, I have to say it was very good to see Mr. Keith Nelson and George, of course, and Pete at the Chicago event. It was much better than I expected. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I had low expectations, to be clear, but I think they did a very good job.
Yeah, I think I think it was the first CompTIA ChannelCon in 3 years, and just a lot of people coming together. A lot of industry talking heads for sure. A few boat rides, that's for sure. And I really enjoyed seeing the guys from Steve and obviously the MSP Ignite members there, like Darren. And it was nice to just see. I don't know what the attendance was. Maybe Pete, you remember what, 400. I don't know what the final. The
On
final.
what?
count was.
On what, the boat?
No, just the event, CompTIA in general.
Oh, no, it was much more like 1,500.
1,500.
It was a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it
There
was,
was a lot, there was a lot that came in like the next day after you left, George. And
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of people there. I mean, it was a really good turn. In fact, I think it was a really good size because personally, going back to the old DattoCon days, I had felt that it just got too big and, just too big to be as comfortable as it
Well, I mean,
it would be
DattoCon's,
otherwise.
DattoCon's height was San Diego, and they had what, 2,000 people?
Yeah.
I heard
Anyway,
that.
I just think it was a well done. There were some really good learn about a couple of things that I wasn't aware of, and a lot of the speaking was, even the vendor. What I found most, and maybe it's just my perspective, but even the sessions which were led by, clearly identified vendors, they really weren't pushing their offering very much. It was really more general. Hey, here's conceptual stuff. Here's industry stuff. It was not just the hard sell, which we've all become totally accustomed to. And I actually liked having, there was a lot of vendors down there in the vendor fair, which George, you missed. I mean, that didn't open until the next day, but they
I mean,
all
listen, I
had,
I left Alec there. He was there.
yeah. I just
There was
like
a lot
that.
of
Yeah,
people
I just like that.
that came for one day. That's kind of surprised me.
Yep. I like that they are equalized, they have the same size and it's the same. I don't know. I think it was done well. So I would definitely go back to that event.
Okay, it's good to hear. Glad to hear that, my friend. So I'm glad I was able to spend a little bit of time with. I saw Keith and I saw you and I saw Pete. So
And sitting in, I had the pleasure of having, getting stuck at a table with Keith for lunch, which was like, kind of I
were
don't
you
know
the
if it's a
only
good
one
thing or a
without a
bad
beard?
thing. Yes, well, no, there were some others. I think I was the only one. He was the only one with a beard at the table. So,
Okay.
but he
And soon I will be the
spewed
only
his
one.
wisdom.
Yeah. As soon as what is it, in 4 months, I'll maybe be the only guy left in the channel with a beard, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, because of the well, I mean, listen, where are they at now? 35,000.
Yeah, I did one many, many years ago, and it was price per add-on. And we raised I think 225,000 for Team USA. And someone that was, kind of in tune with the community made a list of, George was worth 10,000 and Keith was the next 15.
Who did the valuation?
Someone from the Chamber of Commerce, because it was local to our city, and it was and I think a lot of it had to do, it was a specific event. I used to like when fundraising was very local. I like things at the smallest common denominator. And it was, you're sending kids you kind of know, or from families from your city as Team USA. So maybe that was part of the buzz too. But someone from the chamber, based on whatever criteria and it worked well. I mean, people were going like, let's get the next guy in and we need to raise this thermometer.
Yeah. Well, it looks like he's only at a quarter of his goal. So they need to get to 100. They're at 25. So definitely Google Matt Lee shave beard and you'll see the page for all the various people that are involved, including maybe not the guy that's on the line.
I'm gonna retain the only beard of wisdom.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have that, so I can't help you there. At least with the shaving part, guys. But yes, no, that sounds like Chicago was success. I feel like we're, mid-September. So let's call it a little more than a month. Let's call it a month and 2 weeks away from, or a week away from DattoCon, which kicks off what I call conference season. I guess we could say ChannelCon technically did, but like September, October, November is just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And these are where the big ones are hitting all at once. So we are doing the MSP community block parties around 3, right? So DC, Fort Lauderdale, and Orlando. But those 3 we're definitely going to be at. But it's amazing how much stuff's actually happening during those 3 months, including 3 more Channel Strong tours, which means, Darren, we're going to be coming to you this time instead of you coming to us.
Yeah, I know. And let me just plug, I have to say, for anybody on this call that hasn't been to the kind of party that will be happening at DattoCon, they are very well executed and done. So you should, even if you're not going to go to DattoCon, it would probably be worth your time to be there. A lot of good stuff.
Wow. We love to spend time with our friends in the industry, that's for sure. And hey, no offense to the hotel suite party, but sometimes we got to do something special, right? And I think that's kind of sets the history books, I think. But hey, time will tell what you guys think when it's all said and done. Anything else crazy come out of the last couple of weeks since we have you on the line, Darren? We going ahead and got moving on with Carbon Systems, right? I know that was one of your.
We're actually we're great experience. We got a couple more servers to do this quarter, and we're might be considering the laptops too. We're gonna, that will be a Q4 thing, but really great experience with their support when needed, and their building their spec process, and just really the opposite of what we've had with Dell, unfortunately, over the last few years. So as they continue to change their program around, we're small, so we don't get the treatment I'm sure others potentially get, but it's a struggle. And I have to say, I was very impressed with Darkcube at ChannelCon. Their presentation was brilliant, and I really liked the story of the founder there, and it was well done, and I think a lot of people felt the same way.
Okay, Darkcube, in case anyone doesn't know who they are, let me go ahead and share. 100% automated threat detection. Okay. How does it work, Darren? Tell us.
It's essentially, the beauty of it is, and this is for your, I would say, more critical clients, in that you link your firewall to them, and their block list is their algorithm and the technology they have to monitor and report and prevent threats is then it basically makes your existing device smarter, and nothing has to be done on your end in order to do it. So it's not like they send you things to do or to follow up on. It's all basically handled, kind of a set it and forget it, but you get the reporting on it. And it's interesting because you think about all the firewall manufacturers. In theory, you kind of expect, well, yeah, they do this, their lists, or their intelligence should be enough. But I like the approach of having here a third-party vendor that this is all they do, and it's giving you potentially a bigger picture, or broader stroke, so to speak, of protection than you get from any one individual firewall vendor. So I like, and it doesn't work. It also works on firewalls that are not major brands, so that you can get a device without having a subscription on it. We typically, obviously want to keep our devices in subscription for support and updates and their threat intelligence. But I just like the model, and it's very low. Unlike a lot of the other tools that we see, there's literally nothing your techs have to do in order to, that's a great slide that you've just pulled up. Exactly what I just said, George, how, you're relying on what your firewall vendor is looking at versus their, versus this more encompassing approach. So I'm excited about
And
it.
the other thing is they aggregate their logs, which is important, because you start getting subscriptions and you start all of a sudden creating some latency on your smaller networks based on just your monitoring, your RMN, your log collection and all that. So that was always a question I asked is, does Darkcube aggregate their logs so that it doesn't interfere with my responsibility to archive?
So I
Because
would assume if you were consulting in a theoretical case, Keith Nelson, and they had
It does
Darkcube,
not.
you would say that they were in a much better place with people who aren't monitoring their firewall.
well, in the audits, forensics I've done, I find really almost 80% or more that have not even set up a syslog connection at all, which means there was no aggregation in real time of any logs, which is like buying a car without any gas. Or I don't know what you want to call it.
We asked the great Matt Lee, who was in the room for the session, and I had the pleasure of sitting next to him and incidentally drinking whiskey, which was part of their presentation. So which
I
was
heard
excellent.
that was a neat little twist
Yeah.
on it.
Let me just say there was a line out the door at that room. So with that question, Keith, came up after, in that if you want to use another logging service, I think that's a question, and it will not prevent you from having the logs also go somewhere else for retention or whatnot. So
Yeah. Because while some of these vendors offer to do your archiving,
Yep.
I first of all don't believe, and of course I'm not an attorney, I will reiterate that. I don't believe that alleviates your responsibility as the prime contractor, or whatever term you want to use, to archive. And the fact that you can archive on your own alleviates that problem of what happens if I want to divorce this vendor. And under, some contracts, archiving of logs is well over 1 year, any DHA or DHS contract. And so that was an important part. We started looking into technology, and it's pretty solid.
Okay.
And on the carbon systems, I did have a question for him. I said,
Go ahead, hit it. Go ahead, ask it.
You get a lot of bigger clients or that are very Dell has done a superb job of selling their brand to the end
Oh
user.
yeah.
Whether you like them or not is a different story, and whether do you get the relationship you want. But they have sold a lot of decision makers on the fact that we're Dell, we're a big guy, we can back our warranty. And so I was just asking Darren if that's a hurdle when he goes out and now replaces with carbon systems.
No, because keep in mind, Keith, my clients are tiny, very, very small businesses that at this point, if I tell them, we can get a better value for your money, comparable or better equipment, and we're handling the support anyway. So I think I use this analogy or an example, but we would never let a technician contracted with Dell go to a client site without us being there anyway at this point, because it's just not something we would do. I don't want the client to have to interface with them. I don't want this person who probably maybe works also with other MSPs or other providers and walks into an office and says, wow, this would be a good, prospect for my buddy or my brother or whoever. So no, we would always be there anyway. So if that means we have to change a part or whatnot, we're okay to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does. That's good information. So you're basically able to sell them more on the fact that Darren MSP, and I forgot the name of your business, but Darren is going to be fully responsible for this machine and be the guy replacing parts or swamping it out.
I mean, essentially, even though it's Dell, we assume that role anyway with our Dell stuff, right? So we're going to get yelled at. They're not going to yell at Dell. They're going to yell at us. So it doesn't matter to me that it's Dell versus Carbon. And honestly, I can get on the phone with Carbon and say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we need to do. I can't do that with Dell. I mean,
Yeah.
not at my level, at least. So, I have a critical problem. I'm at their mercy.
Isn't one of the value adds the advanced replacement? Like they're not sending you parts, they're just replacing the machine, right?
Well, with Carbon, for absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't believe that's what it is with the server, but again, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, we've never had, with server components in general, the technology today is, it's at a point where, we're not 20 years ago where things were going wrong a lot more. So I have a pretty high comfort level of kind of rolling the dice on that. And listen, all of our clients also they all have BDR, I mean, so appliances that if they have a server, they have a BDR appliance, so still Datto for those moving to Axion, but we would not have a server in place without that. So it's less of an issue than it was before that.
So what do you think, Keith Nelson, if you went to somebody and said, hey, Dell, HP, Lenovo, I don't care what name it is, these guys don't even like on the actual, like, let's say if it's a laptop or desktop, they're just sending you a new one, you send back the old one. What do you think?
Well, I was just lucky in the fact that when we started, we were Dell Premier.
Oh yeah, I got you. A lot of people did Dell.
Our first order was with Boeing, and within the first 6 months, we sold 2,500 desktops to the shop floor. So we were on advanced replacement anyway.
Okay.
So, but I can understand the frustration with, if I wasn't Dell Premier, I wouldn't do it because I don't want someone, what OS do you have? Did you try? They treat you like you're total idiots, and you're going like, I know what I'm doing, right? The hard drive's bad.
Did you try turning it off and on again?
Yeah. And so I understand the frustration, and I've been to many Dell meetings where they promise to make all the right change. They're great at making the promises to make all the right changes. I'll tell you that. They do it every few years. They just don't execute it.
Right.
So I get the frustration, but I'm sure, George, you've sat through a lot of meetings where Dell's come along and said, we're going to do everything right by you. And you listen, you go, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. It just never comes to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, listen, just like anywhere else, there's a turnover, right? So the people that you're talking to today and then 2 months from now may be completely different. I've lost track on how many account managers got shuffled through that I've had to deal with over the years. And let's face it, it's been taking longer to get stuff. Even warranty parts, sometimes they say they don't have them and they take a little bit longer. And then, there's still the, whether you deal reg it or not, right? Somebody from the inside of Dell trying to offer a price lower than what you were quoted to somebody on the other side of you, right? I mean, that happens way more often than we all like to admit. And not that we're in the business of making a lot of money off of hardware, but usually we're doing a larger project and hardware is just part of the conversation. And I don't know.
The worst thing for me with that is that Dell fronts their lower end line, which resellers get little to no reduction on.
Couple percent.
However, you don't want it in your endpoints.
Yes.
The lower end, but however, it makes it difficult when you're selling business quality machines because someone says, well, I got the Dell thing, and they don't know the difference between an Inspirion and a Latitude, and I don't know all their names. And they go, a Dell's a Dell. And so, yeah, that is problematic.
Yeah. See, like this to your point, let me share the screen. Here's Dell's business website, right? US business desktop, right? XPS, okay. It's a higher end machine, Optiplex, we're all familiar with those. Why even advertising Inspiron?
Right.
Or Vostra?
Right. And this is
their product line, it's insane. I mean, it is just it's insane.
Like, I don't even want a gaming computer or this or this. Like, why are we showing this on the business page?
And a business guy, because they're not IT guys, and we appreciate that. is gonna walk in and say, I like that starting at whatever you just went by, 359 or 399.
Yes, there you go.
I mean, if you were just a pure, you know, you ran a little whatever, you don't know the difference between 8-layer boards and 2-layer boards, wouldn't you go, I like that 399? By the way,
Yeah, well,
when you start configuring it, you go, that is no machine.
What's
right, you know,
399
when
get you? I
Well, look,
think
Dell also, by the
839.
way, I mean, it may have just been said, but Dell, when you order a server, you know, you have to provide end user information, which just ends up meaning they get marketed directly by Dell. I mean, I've seen it happen time and time again. They deny it, but it's exactly. I mean, actually, I don't even know
the
if they denied
magazine
anymore.
shows up in the mail.
The magazine shows up, the call from your Dell solution provider, and so it's like, hey, you know, I don't think that's going to happen with Carbon.
no,
Yeah,
you're right.
it's
I
always
agree.
it's all like I haven't looked at what the lead time was. I just had a server show up from Dell 6 months after we put the order in. So talk about lead time. I mean, it used to be like 30 days, right?
Well, I
There's
can tell you the difference. Dan Tomasinski had a group, Everything MSP,
Yeah.
it's called. And one of the guys on there just happened to call me and said, could you help me with Dell? So I said, yeah. He configured a server, got a price of, I think, $6,200 or something. 8 weeks out, he says, what can you do for me? And I said, I don't know, I'll find out. I called, put in a thing. He saved $1,800 and got his server in 5 days.
Wow.
And I didn't even
So-
charge him anything for that, which was kind of nice. But that's so Dell, it does have stuff sitting on the back shelf for their premier clients. And so I think it's definitely, no matter what they tell you with their deals with ASCII and all the stuff they do. And this guy was using the ASCII deal. And he goes, how'd you get a better deal? I said, I don't know. I just did you a favor and called.
Because Keith Nelson's calling the I pay a lot of money every year line, not the ASCII line.
Yeah, and the poor guy, you know, you think ASCII's taking care of you. So you're right. There is some unscrupulous behavior in that regime. Yeah.
Well, no, and ASCII, what ASCII has is the Dell Partner Network, which is different than Dell Premier. And I mean, I'm in Dell Premier, but they have different levels of that, and it's, you know, anyway, it is what it is. I'm happy to have another option, and I'm looking forward to using them more and more going forward.
Yeah, it sounds like I've heard great things about it.
Speaking about ASCII, we just got on. I didn't so explain to us, Darren, since you're so ingrained sometimes, how this ASCII buying group thing works for the people that didn't realize that this was happening. Like, you're just an ASCII member and all of a sudden you get like you can buy into anything, or how does it work? Uh-oh, we lost Darren.
I'm
Keith?
here. I'm here.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no,
sorry.
Keith can explain that better, but you can, yeah, anything with ASCII, you can, you know, you're a member, and they present you with something that you can take advantage of if you're, you know, if you so choose.
Yeah, you know, the United Airlines thing's good. I don't use a lot of it. I mean, I just the United Airlines discount's good. And you just put on your United Club, whatever it is, and you get I think on the last trip, it was about $400 better price
Did you say 400?
on a first class ticket to Chicago. Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's right. Everybody likes first class.
I think you have to ride first class.
Well, but you still got to get the helicopter to the airport.
That's right. And some of their insurance, I don't know, I haven't used it, but other people have and said it's good. I think they specialize, they seem to help a lot of the guys that are smaller shops, most of the programs. The Dell thing was no better than I was getting. It was worse, in fact, but whatever.
Okay. And did you want to share with the group what you're driving now, Keith? Since the Mercedes is as Mr. Wonderful says, dead to me, dead to you?
Dead to me. I bought a red Porsche. Yeah.
Now, did that change your insurance?
I don't know, because I just sent the lease into accounting and just said, replace the car.
All right. Sure, you'll tell us.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get better service at your Porsche dealership than your Mercedes dealership.
Yeah, they seem much more intuitive. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see. Well, but you should have it by the time the tour bus comes to you, my friend.
I already have it. I picked it up on my birthday.
Beautiful. Look at that.
I literally picked up my Mercedes. Drove it to a dealership in the same complex. And traded it in and picked up my new car and went home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you feel like you have a stable and steady vehicle these days.
Well, yeah, and I had to replace our tow vehicle for the boat as well. So I had to do next day buy another, and I'm not much into a Dodge Ram Laramie 4x4 Hemi to tow a boat.
How does that compare against your truck there, Pete?
Depends. Is it a 2500 or just
15.
Yeah, so it doesn't have the same towing capacity.
I actually loved, my wife actually, because she's the one that drove when she towed the boat. But it was old, a 2001 or something, Chevy Suburban full ton with the 8 whatever liter engine.
Mm-hmm.
And she just loved that for towing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good stable vehicle for towing. But
The only thing I'd say bad about that was for some reason, the leather on the GMCs, at those times didn't last too great.
Yep.
But otherwise, it was a great vehicle and we actually kept it. And yeah, I mean, the Dodge Ram,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like I was actually shocked because when I was growing up, Dodge was not known for good looking vehicles and very poor finish. And when she looked at that and I said, they do the leather interior, they're kind of nice. I was actually surprised.
Pete, you're still looking for a new car.
Oh, I found one. I just got to get the guy to make the phone call back.
Oh, okay. Is it still the one up by me or somewhere else?
It is. They actually have about 12 of them.
Wow. They're not selling those every day.
He buys those fancy, expensive cars.
I know, right?
They're actually a consignment shop for automobiles. So they bring them in and put them in the showroom and put them on consignment. So they really don't own them. They're just a broker in between, and they make a fee every time one moves out the door.
When we first bought our motorhome years ago, we drove up to Pismo Beach and unplanned, and there was the big show that they take over Pebble Beach Golf Course, a big car show, and then they race some cars at the Cinca. He probably knows the name of the racetrack. Boy, that was the best car show I ever saw in my life.
Up a Laguna Seca.
Yes, Gullwing Mercedes.
Yeah, they had some nice cars.
Yeah, you have to actually I had to call my bank because I said, I just want to go look at cars. They said, you just don't go look at cars. You have to have a line of credit to get whatever the pass to go look in the cars behind the gate and get your bid paddle. You can't just go. It was no lose allowed. But it was
the high rollers buying experience.
Yeah. But that's when I get, his kind of money. I could go buy those fancy cars.
Okay. All right. Well,
I bet you your Porsche costs more than my car.
Yeah.
Not your race cars.
Probably.
Really? I see what Oli spends all, off and on. I'm going like, that's an expensive habit.
I will tell you this new beast has more power than the other one.
Wow.
Yeah, he has the new Corvette for a street car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is a much better looking than what I like the old Corvettes and then skipped like 10 years. And I know you're a Corvette guy, and then the new one is good looking again. But there was quite a period where I thought Corvettes were not as good looking as they used to be.
Okay. All right.
The new one's real nice.
I haven't driven one, that's for sure. Are you you planning on being on the road on these upcoming conferences there, Keith Nelson, or no?
I haven't planned any yet, but I always seem to get a last minute call and say, come on down. I do need to, yeah, I'm thinking about there's the one in the ConnectWise one.
IT Nation, yeah.
IT Nation.
Okay. Well,
And that's when your big party is, I understand.
one of them, yeah. Don't you better book that first class ticket sooner rather than later, my friend.
Oh, isn't it? Don't I just charge it to you?
I mean, if you're not gonna be flying, you're not gonna be flying United if you're flying with me. Might be. What about Spirit? You want to take first class with me on Spirit?
Oh, hell no.
Come on.
That's just a stress. I just don't like it.
What about JetBlue since they bought them? What about first class on JetBlue?
It's called Mint. And
Mint?
yeah, I actually had to fly it once. I was in New York with my daughter and she was going overseas, and it turned out my passport was not good. Whatever the requirement, 6 months after you return. And
Yeah, it has to be valid like 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and you submit your passport to Norwegian Airlines and everything. Anyway, so I couldn't go with them. So I had to run and get a ticket, and JetBlue Mint back from New York to LA. And
How was it?
pretty good. And I ended up sitting next to the guy from Blackish,
Okay.
who knew me, funny because I didn't know who he was at first. He said, "Oh, I see you. I've seen your video to the Nehemiah project. I'm a aged out foster youth as well, and I want to get involved." So it was he got involved with the charity we're doing. And so it was a good, I mean, it was good service.
That's good. Well, next time I'll have to try that first. See how it matches up.
I don't
against
think it was any
United.
cheaper, but of course I bought the ticket that day, so that is not a good.
Same day flying. That's an expensive way to do it.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not a good measure of whether or not the ticket was expensive, is all I'm saying.
100%. Well, we'll have to talk about that make sure that you're in a good place in the backyard with the fish pond and cigar before we get too far on that one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for checking in. We'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully, we don't have Thursday's guest feel a little bit under the weather, but every Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Perfect. Talk to you later.